He thought he was dying until he realized the creatures around him weren't human.
So, what do you remember from that moment on?
When I regained consciousness, it wasn't real quick. It wasn't real woken right up. It was real slow. It was dim. My consciousness was kind of like in and out for a while. I didn't know where I was. The pain and the feeling that I was mortally wounded, something was so wrong inside. I felt like I was dying. And this is what really fueled the panic when I finally laid eyes on these creatures. Of course, all of the mental programming that we get from Hollywood that aliens are invading monsters, didn't help. But I instantly associated this feeling of dying with pain with them. So I was combative immediately.
Where were you?
I was lying on my back on a raised table. There was a light above me. It was not real bright. It was not so bright that I couldn't, see the outline of the fixture. But
What did the fixture look like?
kind of like that, only much larger. Just a soft glow. And in the movie, there's a little bit of striking on the part of the aliens against me. That didn't happen. I lashed out at them. The one closest to me, I felt really weak. I didn't have enough strength to do much. So when my arm contacted him, he just fell back very unexpectedly easy into the other one. And I rolled off the table in the other direction. And they came around the table, and the three of them were coming towards me. And I just grabbed something from behind me, an object off of the shelf there, and started swinging it at them.
What was the object?
It was just some large, long cylinder or rod, glass, some clear material. I wasn't studying it. I was looking at them and swinging wildly, screaming threats. They stopped. And I was planning on attacking more fully, just making way past them. The only doorway I could see was on the other side of them.
And it looked like a doorway?
Yeah, it looked like a doorway, just,
And what did they look like?
I guess it's a pretty typical description nowadays. Very large eyes, hairless, two eyes, nose, mouth. I didn't see them speak or no change in the expressions. And to me, that in the face of all the screaming and the fear that I was projecting, their lack of reaction probably just added to my panic. But
Did they feel like they were a living creature, or did they feel like they were a robot?
well, they were without expression, I'll say that. But, I've had 45 years to think about that. In more recent years, I think, well, maybe if they're telepathic and it's developed enough to where they don't need to talk, they also don't need facial expression.
Right.
And so their ability to communicate with each other would be much richer and more complete than we have. And speech and frowns or smiles or whatever would become obsolete pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, that is a theory about where human beings are headed. If we continue to evolve, that we will one day reach this point where the biological limitations of our monkey bodies will slowly start to fade away, and we'll have different abilities. different abilities to
Well, why
communicate.
would we need to frown or
Yeah.
smile if you can say much more?
And also their musculature, did they look like smooth, like they had no clear muscles?
Yeah, they were pretty smooth, very light. When I hit the one, it fell back into the other one pretty easily, like he weighed hardly anything.
Like a little kid?
Yeah. That was the most terrifying experience of my life. But when I tell this story and try to relate to people, I'm trying to communicate what I experienced and how utterly, utterly traumatic that was and how it was so devastating. I was, on the verge of catatonic for weeks after it happened. But I don't want to relate this story in order to inspire fear, because I've had enough time to think about it that I think that it was unwarranted, that my reaction was just due to my ignorance of the situation. The fact that I was returned at all is pretty significant,
Yeah.
The idea that these beings are just kidnapping people willy-nilly and doing terrible things to them, I don't subscribe to that theory. Now, I try to separate what I actually experienced from things that I've concluded just from thinking about it. But it seems to me that, they've been seen, observed, there have been sightings for all, before I was born.
Had you heard of the Betty and Barney Hill story before you were abducted?
I probably had. But if I thought if they had some sort of sinister intentions, it'd be a done deal. They wouldn't be sneaking around, hiding, and
Right.
yeah. I believe with that level of technology. Look at it this way. Human beings, just virtually everything technological that we have is just a few hundred years old. Before that, the most technological thing we had was fire. And in just the last 50 years, the progress of our science has grown to far overshadow everything we had accomplished in thousands of years before that. So I'm thinking what astronomers tell us about these other star systems is that they could be hundreds of thousands, millions, or maybe billions of years older than us. So if we accomplished the kind of technology that we have in a few decades, what is possible with millions of years of development? We couldn't begin to recognize what they're capable of.
Right.
So I think it's presumptuous for people to say, oh, they could never do that.
It really is an interesting conundrum, because we know what we can do and we know where we came from. We have a very clear history of technology when it comes to humans. And we also know that there are planets surrounding stars all throughout our galaxy and all throughout the universe. But we're still skeptical. It's so funny. And
Yeah,
so
it is.
But for a guy like you who's actually encountered it, even though you saw it, it had to not seem real.
Oh, yeah, you're questioning your sanity for sure. It was like I was practically catatonic for days afterwards.
JRE number 1518. Hitchhiking across America, he heard confessions no one was supposed to hear.
Like, you might find this hard to believe, but I never talked growing up. I was the kid in the corner, and like girls would form groups and talk about which guy they want to fuck, and I wouldn't even be. They're like, Dave's sitting right there, and they're like, yeah, he's not even on the fucking roster. And I'm like, so I go, wait, is this racist? Yeah, but what has it? How can I turn this around? What it did for me, the Asian superpower is, if you're not seen and you're not heard and we're seen as non-threatening, I can go anywhere. I can go anywhere and people open up to me. I've been to the Congo. I've been to third world countries. I've been to every fucking state in America. I might be the most American person. Like, I've been to every fucking state. I've hitchhiked from the time I was 15 to every fucking state, every country. And I've talked, and because would a black guy be able to do that? Would a white guy be able to do that? When people see, oh, that guy's Chinese, he's like Jackie Chan, or he's whatever they think, they don't think that I'm going to do anything or say anything or I'm going to, pose any threat. So they just open up and they say the most, I don't know, like when I started hitchhiking, people said, no one's going to pick you up, right? Like 60s, 70s, everyone hitchhiked. And then something weird happened in the 80s where like, you're going to get raped, kidnapped, murdered, But I go, I don't think so. I think if I put my thumb out and ask for help, someone's going to give it to me. And with that, I got to see the world for free. I got to go everywhere. And much like what happened was I would sit shotgun and I'm getting these free rides, and two things would happen. Either the driver has a long drive and they want someone to talk to, or they want me to talk to them. And something would happen, and like I'm in the car right now with a complete stranger. Anything could happen. And the first hour is always small talk. How long you been on the road? What you do? It's all that kind of stuff. Something switches when they know the ride's I'm about to get out or whatever. I'm never going to see this guy again. So now we've been talking about news, sports, and weather for an hour. Last 10 minutes, I fucked my sister when I was 12.
Whoa.
Everything comes out. So I've heard, think about how many rides I've hitchhiked.
How old was he? He was 12. How old was his sister?
I don't know. It was 8. I mean, everything. Drugs, incest. I killed somebody. Like murder.
A guy told
murder
you?
confessions.
Really?
I've heard the most insane.
Hold one at a time. Murder confession.
I don't know if I should retell it here.
You definitely should be.
A guy confessed to me that he was thinking of raping me when I stayed at his house.
Oh, Jesus. You stayed at his house? You didn't just hitchhike, you hitch-housed?
I was in the deep South. It was like I was trying to hitchhike from LA to New York City. I was with my friend Brian. Same thing. No one's going to pick up two fucking dudes. And John Wayne picks us up, cowboy guy. 10-gallon hat, Damn, you boys look, hot out there. Get in the car. And he's telling us about shrimp po' boys, and he works on a offshore oil rig, and it's 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and it's just 2 weeks off right now. So he's like, "Where are you guys headed?" And we're like, "We're just trying to get to New York." New York? What you want to go there for? A bunch of queers out there. I don't know. We want to check it out. You guys want to stay at my house tonight? Like, this guy looks like grandpa. Just cowboy boots, cowboy hat, just big gut. Like, he's a dude.
Right.
Yeah, I'm young. I'm 17 or 18 at this time. We get to his house in this is what I'm talking about. It's a tiny town in Louisiana. Deep South.
Okay.
Like, we get in his house, Die Hard movie collection, Rambo movie collection, shotguns, and
lube.
Just a dude, just a man's man. And he has and his part-time job is an anesthesiologist.
Part-time anesthesiologist.
Part-time and then part-time offshore oil rig. And I'm, this is summertime, Deep South, covered with like grease and mosquitoes, living outside on the road, hitchhiking. He's like, "You guys want to take a shower?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah." I'm the first one in the shower. And then I come out, I got the towel wrapped on. He's like, he made us like a frozen pizza or something. And there's a protest on the television. It's San Fran. This is 1993 or 94. There's a protest of something with gay people in San Francisco, and they were protesting. And he's watching it. He's like, I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I'm queer. You never see me out there protesting." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And then my friend Brian, who's covered in grease and dirt, he hasn't showered yet. And I'm like, "Oh shit!" And I started getting my clothes on. And it's one thing to be gay, and then it's one thing to be picked up by like a
big gay guy with a cowboy hat who takes you to his house.
So and here's the thing. I don't want to discourage people from hitchhiking. This is one weird incident that's happened in like 15 years of hitchhiking. So he's like, hey, Brian, it's your turn. Why don't you take a shower? No, I'm okay. I'm all right. You're filthy. Why don't you get in there and take a shower? He's like, no, I'm all right. I'm okay. And I go, oh, fuck. What do we do? You know, I do a little powwow in the corner. He's like, he's old. We can take him if he tries anything. We're tired. We were fucking so tired. We're like, he looks like he was like falling asleep on his couch. And he goes, he's going to go to sleep soon. Let's just fucking stay the night. It's fucking air conditioned in here. And then let's leave first thing in the morning before he wakes up. I'm like, okay, fuck it. Let's just do it. All right, boys, I'm going to turn in. I'm like, yes. So we take the couch and I go, let's sleep in a formation and let's take turns. We should have just left. You go, you stay up for an hour and then wake me up. I'll stay up for an hour. And then we'll leave crack of dawn, you know. I had a pocket knife. So I slept like this. I took the knife and I put the thing like this and I slept like that. And I stayed up for the first hour and I see him walking around his room. The lights are on. And I'm like, this guy's not going to sleep. Midnight, 1 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck? Why won't this guy go to sleep?
Putting his masks on.
So I nudge Brian. I go, hey, it's your turn. I got him. I'm going to fucking pass out. He's out cold. I'm like, fuck, dude. Fuck, man. I'm too tired. And I go, okay, I'm just going to stay up the whole night. So I'm up. I'm like, guys are closing. Bring him back up again. Gripping the knife. And then sometime around 5:30 in the morning or something, my eyes are closed, but you know when you feel someone?
Mm-hmm.
So he comes out of his room and he's standing there and I could see, and then I go, oh shit. And then I grip the knife and I go, this is it. This is it. It's going to happen right now. And he just leaves. He goes out the door and I go, oh fuck. Like, and then I wake up Brian. I go, Brian, let's get the fuck out of here. He's like, what's going on? He's like, dude, he just left. He's like, okay, I'm going to take a shower then. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, if he went to the store or something, like, he's not going to
get some duct
Yeah,
tape.
he's not going to be back for, I'll jump in and jump. I go, dude, let's just go right now. Like, I don't know if he was jerking off or what. Like, I had my eyes closed, but he was standing right there. And he's like, I'll be quick. So he runs in, takes a fast shower. We get our clothes on. And like, just as we're walking out, he's like, hey, he like pulls in. You guys leaving without saying bye? I just went to the market to get some eggs for breakfast. And I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. So I'm like, I have the knife in my hand the whole time. I go, like, it's that thing where I'm a people pleaser. You know, like, I'll even put my own life at risk to, like, this guy went to the store and got eggs for me, you know? Like, yeah, sure, we'll have some eggs. So we go in, and the guy starts talking about his wife and how he works on this offshore oil rig with like a younger dude. It's just two guys running this whole oil rig. And the other guy just talks about how much he hates gay people the whole time, not knowing that this guy is.
Wow.
And then he just like all the other times I've been picked up, he starts opening up about how he was married, he has a bunch of children, and then he figured out he was gay. And then he's just like, I could see it. He knows we're on our way out. He's never going to see us. Let's just fucking let it on. You boys look so cute on the side of the road there last night. And it was like, I was so like, I'm so lonely. I don't get to, you know, you don't know what it's like to be a queer guy in the deep South. And man, when I came out this morning and I saw you guys sleeping together, you guys on the couch, you look so beautiful and perfect. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, dude. And then he says, I thought about just, you know, if you guys wouldn't mind if I just touched you a little bit. And I'm like, what the fuck? And, you know, we've once again, I froze. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, so and so I said, yeah, we're gonna leave now. So we just fucking booked it. And then all of his neighbors were black. Like he lived like in a black neighborhood, and like the houses are on stilts because of the swampland and whatever. And I don't know if he's done this before, but as we ran out, like I heard like the kids laughing, and they're like, "Oh, Tom, they're trying to do it again," and I'm like, "Oh fuck, like this isn't the first time." Like,
Oh, of course.
and look,
Probably
man,
drives
this
around
is
looking for hitchhikers.
I've hitchhiked all over the world.
And that was the only time.
Right, and
Yeah.
and so I highly recommend it. But yeah, what I was saying about being invisible is, a lot of times people will do this or say, go back to where you come from, because they're like, this fucker's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the way the world works. You know, like someone was explaining to me the other day that no one ever wins a war. I go, what are you talking about? We come in, we blow shit up, and then we take it's like, if you look at Germany and Japan, right? It's two countries that are very small. You look at a globe and you look at how small they are. These are two countries that are very tiny, that have tried to dominate every country around them. And Japan has Germany starts every world war, right? And so you're like, oh, but we won those wars. But we drive their cars now. We drive Lexus. They won in the end. And then you think of the soldiers that come home, the PTSD, the drug addiction, the homelessness. It's like, look at our country now. It's like, did we win? Like you won, like on the charts. You look at the numbers. We took this town. We did this. We did that. And when you fuck with people, when you hurt someone, it stays with them forever. Like it stays with them for a long time, unless you have tools and different things to like work through those things, which I've been working on a lot. But yeah, being, oh fuck, that's sort of racist that no one really thinks of me as a threat. How can I turn that into an advantage? I'm going to travel the entire world.
While hunting pythons inside an abandoned Cold War rocket base, he found a pentagram and a warning written in Latin.
Since 1965, there's only been 175 unsolved cases involving deaths and murders. Okay. That's just the bodies. But that's like deaths and murders. Well, I would imagine that would be a good place to drop off a body.
That's kind of what I was going to say, is it's a very good place to go hide stuff. I've found vehicles that were used in crimes dumped out there. I've found dogs from dog fights that were dumped out there. I've found animals that have just been dumped. I've found very intricate and mind-blowing satanic rituals and sacrifices out there.
What?
Oh yeah. So I was, which I found different stuff before. You know, I'll find maybe where someone was doing some voodoo, some Santeria, sacrificed a chicken, whatever. All that's like kind of normal out there. That's not that crazy. But what I found this night was very crazy. Yeah, the police came and investigated it. It made the news. And that's the facility I was hunting. It's Aerojet. It's actually an abandoned space rocket facility from the Cold War, where they were developing and testing space rockets.
And what were you hunting there?
Pythons. I was out there, hunting these snakes, and this facility is you need special access. I was given special access by the state of Florida to remove pythons from out there. And nobody can just go back out there, but people do go out there, as you can see from the graffiti and different stuff like that, usually to do stuff that they're not supposed to do. There's a lot of crimes committed out there. There have been murders out there, gang initiations, all kind of stuff.
So they have a pentagram that's...
So, yeah, it's a whole thing. So we go out there. The first thing I came across was a big rock pile with a upside-down wooden cross on top, and a bunch of red spray-painted upside-down crosses all over. And you could tell the cross, I think, was burnt a little bit. And it wasn't, crazy, super crazy. It was like, oh, this is new. This wasn't out here a few days ago. And then I found this little doll. And as I kind of investigated that doll more, a little red scarlet snake actually came up and wrapped around her neck. And I picked up there it is. I picked up the scarlet snake, and which, it was kind of weird that there's a live snake, a red snake on this doll. And I've caught a lot of snakes in my life, and that is the only one that was bleeding out of its anus. There was blood coming out of its beehole, which, I don't know why, who knows what. It was a little weird to me. And then the night just kind of gets weirder from there. You see the red lettering in the other clip. It was a big Latin saying, like 100-foot long pretty much, on the road. I drove over it. We later translated it to, turn around, run, hide, he is watching you. Go further into the complex, and there's these big abandoned buildings. I go into the building, still just python hunting. Like, who knows what these kids are doing out here. I thought it was strange, the Latin. Your average kid just messing around don't know Latin sayings like that. And then I come to this big room where there's the big pentagram. In the middle of the pentagram, there is a three-legged plastic chair with a blood stain in the bottom of it where you could tell something was killed, sacrificed, whatever. On each wall, there's 3 walls. On each wall, there's upside-down crosses, Latin sayings, and all kinds of stuff. As I'm kind of walking into the room, which, I don't want to sound like a psycho or anything, but that doll from earlier grabbed my leg. I don't know if I kicked it, I didn't see it, or what, but that doll from the rock pile somewhere else, I don't know if it was another doll or what, I never seen that other doll. I kick it, it seemed like it grabbed me. It's that same doll from earlier. Same thing with the cross on its forehead, the one eye cocked over, the other eye messed up. And so, it's very, very weird to me. Kind of like scared me.
So
right next,
it wasn't there, and then it was there. So
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice
you
it.
didn't carry it over there.
No, I didn't touch it.
So
I didn't touch
did anybody else? Was anybody else
No.
with you?
I had 2 guys with me that didn't even want to get out of the truck when they seen the first thing. They stayed in the truck.
So the same
They
doll
didn't
that you
touch
saw on
anything.
the rock pile somehow made its way to where you were.
Yep. I don't know if it's a duplicate doll or what, but it's same.
Was there more than one of those dolls?
Only doll I seen. Only doll I seen. I'm not big on the whole supernatural thing, so I'm real doubtful of it in the first place. But to me, it was the same doll from earlier. I did not see it until it hit my foot. Right next to that doll, there is a saying on the ground that says, "The omen will follow," which to me was like the creepiest thing of the whole thing. Was like, that if you interact with any of this spirit's going to follow you. Which I'm Christian, I believe in God, and I wasn't worried. I know the good Lord has my back. But very strange, right? Very strange. As we go through, there's all kind of different stuff. In one of the rooms, there's a sleeping bag with something inside of it. I don't think it was a body, anything like that. Police went out there, investigated it. I didn't investigate further past that. Something was inside the sleeping bag, and on the walls there was, looked like red spray paint, and it said, "She was only 9, we gave her to the devil," like basically talking about sacrificing a child. And then you have this little girl's gown that's nailed to the wall with like a dark red stain on it.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And what was the investigation? Did you follow up and find out what they found out?
I never heard anything from it. I'm assuming they never found much from it because I never heard anything from it.
Did they know it was human blood that was in the chair?
I don't know.
Or on the...
I don't know. I would like to think it's red spray paint, but I don't know. I don't know.
What
For the
the
sake of the story, who knows what it was.
Yeah.
So, we continue on with our hunt. We end up starting to get out of there. The guys are like, "Dude, we want to go. We don't like this shit." I'm like, "All right, let's pack it up. Let's go." So we start making our way out, and I see flashlights. I mean, there's one road in, one road out. There's a gate at the end of it. You can't drive a vehicle in. And I mean, we're miles out here. You have to drive miles to then walk miles, right? So I see this flashlight bouncing on the side of the road as I'm driving out. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? No, I've never seen anyone out here in my life, ever. Getting closer to them. I have my pistol in my truck. I put my pistol on my lap, just in case. As I'm getting closer, about to kind of pass the guy's like, "Mike." It's my name. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm definitely shooting this guy. Like, what the fuck, And he's like, "I love your Instagram." I was like,
JRE number 1224. Alone in the frozen wilderness, he heard wolves howling from every direction around his camp.
Most talked about that. Like I got calls from all my friends. Bert Kreischer was fucking obsessed with you. he wouldn't stop calling me about it. He's like, the fucking guy's by himself. The video with him with the grizzly bear and he's pointing the gun at it. Jesus Christ.
The fucking weirdest thing is that's normal shit. It is. That's very normal.
Yes.
But society's so removed from it now.
Well, if you're out there, it's normal to get false charged by a grizzly bear.
Yeah,
that is
you're
not,
living with nature, yeah.
It's one good reason to not fucking be out there.
I was talking with Kim about this. We hiked into the back of Montana to the spot that's usually got a bunch of grizzly bears that I go to. And we're talking about you, how you won't come out to Australia hunting because you're scared of everything. The difference is when you're walking around the mountains here, it can happen at any point because fucking grizzly bears have got feet. They walk on land. In Australia, you pretty much have to go into the water. So you're only worried about that when you go to collect water or you're thinking about having a wash or something. Here, it's full time.
For whatever reason, it doesn't bother me as much to get killed and eaten by a bear than it does a giant saltwater crocodile.
It should. I reckon the crocodile would be nicer.
What?
Yeah, it'd be nicer. It'd like grab you, drag you down. You'd drown anyway. You know, and then it would do what it wants with you. A grizzly bear's going to fucking maul you, scratch your face off, bite your neck, take chunks out of you. It's going to be longer, dude.
Yeah, but it's American.
It's all right. We don't want no foreign shit eating us.
I ain't fucking no foreigners eating me. There's something about grizzly bears that's most terrifying things that they just eat you. They don't kill you first. They just hold you down and start eating you.
Yeah.
They treat you the same way they treat a salmon. You know, when you see them hold down a salmon and they take big bites out of it, they don't make sure they kill that
There's no
salmon.
nice thought behind it. You know, it's like, I'll finish it off first and then.
No.
Yeah. Did you see the mountain lion that I ended up hunting when I was out here?
I did, yeah.
And like mountain lions usually kill their prey, but it obviously grabbed the calf and it was eating this calf while it was still alive, like a beef cow calf.
Yeah, I saw the video of that.
Yeah, pretty disturbing. Ugh. And then I seen one not long ago, someone shared with me with a mountain lion dragging a mule deer down. It's like chomping on this mule deer before it actually dies, you know, and it's like there's just not that thought process there's not that human, you know.
No, as long as they make sure that they have it as a meal and it's not going anywhere, they'll just start eating.
It's done, yeah.
Yeah, wolves do the same thing. Some friends were elk hunting and they came across this elk who these wolves had torn the back legs apart and it was in the river and the wolves were eating it while it was in the river and the thing was moaning and screaming. It couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It was bull elk.
Yeah.
In the water. And they just
pretty horrible for us, but nature don't give a fuck.
Standard for them. I mean, it's, have you encountered any wolves when you're out there?
Yeah, plenty of times. Yeah, the first time I went to Canada was Northwest Territories, and there was a pack of wolves that they were chasing a caribou bull, and they pretty much chased this thing to like a lather of sweat. You know, like this is in winter, so the caribou bull got really hot. And they chased it into the freezing cold river and they sort of surrounded it in the river. And then they just left it and they walked off, you know. And it wasn't that they were walking away from their kill. They knew the job was done. The wolves went back up high and they got onto these rocky benches and sat in the sun and were like drying out themselves and cooling down and drying out. And this caribou never left the river. It was like just quivering in the river. And then that afternoon when we come back, that caribou was just a carcass with like flesh hanging off the ribs on the side of the river. So they come back down once the river had done its job and ate them.
Wow.
You know? Smart as hell, eh?
That's really crazy that they're that intelligent that they know it's over. They're like, oh, okay, he's in the water.
Yeah.
He's in the water.
We can chill
let's
now.
Go dry off.
Yeah.
That is bananas.
Yeah, crazy, eh?
They're so wise. People that I know that have seen them in the forest say they look at you a different way.
Yeah.
They look at you. There's a way they look through you. They look at you in a way like, almost like, they think that that's the reason why the myth of the werewolf exists. Is that people that have these terrifying encounters with wolves, they swear that it's part human.
Yeah, because like peers and into you.
Yeah, they're looking into you. They're figuring you out, you know? And you got to think what it would be like if you're just out there, you know, if you're lucky, live 5 years old, right? You get this hard scrabble life out there chasing much larger animals than you, and you got to kill them with your face.
Yeah. Make it happen or die. Yeah, crazy. I had a pack of like 30 wolves this last trip that I was in BC, and they kept coming around camp. We had horses and that in camp, and one day I ventured out to try and get onto them and get a better look at them, and they just without seeing me, they just kept this perfect range. You know, like they'd howl back to me. I was trying to call them in. I was howling. They'd howl back to me, and they'd just keep this perfect range. And you could tell the whole time they were communicating, because there'd be another wolf or a couple of wolves that were like a couple of miles in the other direction, and you could hear them moving the same pattern that the rest of these wolves were. And I got eyes on them from a distance. They walked across a nice lake, and other than that, I never really seen them, but I guarantee you those wolves looked at me a bunch of times. Like, they're just a different hunter, dude.
Yeah, they're probably just trying to figure out what they can do with you.
Yeah, such an eerie feeling too. So it's like snow, and it's like way in the backcountry of British Columbia. And like I'm going up on these mountains, it's like big pine trees and everything like that, and just every direction around you howling, dude. You'd hear them howling, you'd hear them do, it sounds like a bark, it's not, it's like this short howl. And then every now and then you'd hear one howl different, and you could tell that was the alpha. There's the sound that it was letting out, dude, was like eerie. You know? Awesome place to be. If you're in the nature, like crazy place to be. If you're not into nature, fucking your nightmare. Like, yeah.
JRE 2358. Something unseen followed him through a silent military building in Germany. Then he tried one strange ritual.
I get back in a platoon, get ready, deploy again. I'm keeping my wickedness under control, outwardly, but it's still all there, man. Well, we go up to Tunisia, North Africa, and Arabs attacked the embassy up there. When all that Benghazi and that stuff went down. It happened all over North Africa.
Really quick.
So we went up there, resecured the embassy. We came back, we left there and came back to Germany to rejock our equipment because that mission was over in Tunisia. Came back to Germany to rejock, and then we were going out to Nigeria. And while we were in Germany, the only way for me to tell you this in just simple terms is we were staying in a barracks that was inhabited by some sort of demon. And that was the genesis of my conversion, of me being made aware that, okay.
So when you say it's inhabited by a demon, like in what way?
So I was in there with a couple of other guys. I wish I would have wrote all this down. I was laying in bed one night in this place. There was nobody else in this building. It was just me and there were me and a guy in one room, and two other guys in the room across the hall there, okay? Well, I'm laying in bed, and all of a sudden I'm jolted awake by something that hits my door. And I lay in bed for maybe 30 seconds, and while I'm laying there listening, I can hear some strange voices echoing up and down the hall of this building that we're in. And so immediately I get up, open the door, walk out, nobody's out there, walk around, nobody's in the building, go in my buddy's room beside me, they're both passed out. But it scared me, dude. I was like, what on earth is this? It scared me. And these things would, like the oven would be turned on, like these bumps and noises, but more than all of that, there became this oppressive feeling of like evil in this place. And the guys that I was with in there, they started getting freaked out about it too. We called our senior chief, who had been staying there before us. It was just like an old empty place that guys would come and stay in for a few nights before they left out. We called our senior chief. We're like, hey man, did you have any strange experiences in this place? He was like, oh yeah, there's something in there. And But like I remember walking into this place, and there was a stairwell. I would walk up the first flight of stairs, and then there would be a second flight that cut back, and there was like a landing up there because we were staying on the second deck. And like I would, as a hunter, like how you have that sense when something is like staring at you, like I would feel this thing staring at me up there on that landing, and I would fully expect to turn around and see some sort of something up there. And I never saw it in physical form. We started doing this research online about, looking at these forums and stuff about this place that we were, in, and finding all kinds of other stuff about it. I'm like, well, whatever is going on here, I can't sleep at night. Like, I don't want to be in that place. because it's literally scaring me that bad. And the sanity check was the dudes I was with were getting freaked out too. And like, I wish I would have talked to them and written down the things that they were specifically experiencing.
Do you remember any of
So
it?
that I would, it's been so long ago, man. Like, the experience that I had was so powerful. Like, that just is the one thing that sticks in my mind. But I remember the two guys across the hallway, one of them had to leave. They were going out to a different site. And that dude, the other dude, was left in that room by himself. He moved across the hallway to stay in the room that me and my guy were with, because he didn't want to stay in that room by himself.
Jesus.
And so I called my little brother, because I knew my little brother was a Christian. And I said, well, here's one of these Christians. They'll have maybe a little bit of insight on this spiritual stuff that might be going on here. He said, well, man, he said, I ain't never ran into nothing like that. He said, I'm going to put you in touch with my pastor of my local church here. They were real close. His name's James Cordell. James called me the next day, and I told him what all was going on. Well, he acted like it wasn't no big deal. I said, no, buddy. I said, you don't understand. I said, there's something in here. I don't know what it is. He said, ain't no big deal. He said, put me on speakerphone. He said, I'm going to walk around. He said, walk around this building, up and down the hallways. And he said, I'm going to pray. And I put him on speakerphone. I'm walking around this building, up and down the hallways in my room. He's praying against this thing in the name of Jesus Christ. He says, all right, now, we had a little kitchenette there. He said, you have some olive oil in there? I said, yeah, we got a bottle. He said, take just a little dab of that olive oil and just dab it on the top of your door frame there. So I did it. Joe, I'm thinking the whole time, this is so stupid. But what else do I do in this situation? Let's try this, right? Let's give this a shot.
Right.
And I dabbed that little olive oil up there.
In case you were wondering like I was.
I leave, go to work. We come back that evening, wind down. Total, like, peace had returned to this place. Like, I no longer heard or felt or was experiencing any sort of fear or anything. Like, it all was gone. Like, all of a sudden, it was just like, oh, okay, now I'm just in another little barracks room here. Like,
did the other guys feel the same way?
So this is what's funny. I didn't tell the other guys that I did that. And because they were all gone when I walked around with this crazy man on speakerphone. The next morning we woke up, and my buddy woke up in the room. He said, what's all over the door? And I looked up, and that little dab of olive oil had somehow like dripped down and covered the entire door of the room that we were staying in. And you could see it toward the bottom of the door, like the drips. Like the whole door was like shiny. And he said, what's all over the door? And I said, don't worry about it, man. I don't know what the crap that is. But after that happened, I have got to get my hands on on Scripture and figure out more about this figure, Jesus, who I heard this man praying in the name of.
JRE number 1738. He thought he was calling in an elk until a massive grizzly appeared only 80 yards away.
I was out in this drainage, this grizzly bear. This grizzly bear, my dad's there, and I'm cow calling, okay?
And you think the elk's coming,
I think this elk's coming.
but it's not.
It's not. I see the elk go across this ridge, right? It goes across this ridge. And then I see this brown flash go down this hill in front of me. And there's a bit of a, if you look like this brown flash has to go down this ridge and then around the corner of the spine of the ridge and stay down in the valley. I know that above me is a elk carcass freshly killed yesterday. So I'm waiting for this big bull elk. I'm looking this way. And I turn around. I look down below me, and 100 yards below me, my dad's here, I'm here, and I turn around below me, and there's a giant bear 100 yards below me. I turn all the way around. I'm like, Dad, there's a bear. There's a bear. There's a bear. There's a bear. I have my pistol right here.
Does your
on my
dad have a
chest.
pistol?
He's not. He has a bow only. I have a pistol and bear spray.
Does your dad have bear spray?
He does not. At this point, he's not. So luckily, I'm between him and the bear. The bear goes down the drainage. I remember, as a hunter, mostly I'm worried about is this a black bear or a grizzly bear. I didn't know at the time. It was kind of shadowed in this ravine as it was going up. And I'm looking through the binos. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'm not sure if it's a black or grizzly bear. Grizzly bears have a distinct hump that you're looking for that's different from a black bear. And they can be, and this black bear's sauntering down.
At the risk of making this a longer story,
Yeah.
explain why it's way more dangerous if it's a grizzly.
A black bear, you and I have experienced this in Alberta together. A black bear is not as aggressive, not as predatory. Black bear attacks are very less frequent than grizzly bear attacks. I don't know that I could explain kind of just the nature of a grizzly bear and a black bear is an omnivore in many ways. A grizzly bear is a carnivore. And in this scenario, I would be, if it was a black bear, I would be looking to shoot it rather than being afraid of it, because I love black bear meat. It's delicious. And black bear fat. You've had Clay Newcomb on. You make bear grease. It's one of the best things that there is. So I guess that maybe explains the difference. And then
for people, like,
Yeah.
in comparison, it's like a golden retriever versus a wolf.
pretty much. That's
It's-
a pretty good comparison.
It's a completely different animal.
I wish there was a wild apologist to kind of really lay it out there. But
He would
in
probably say
terms of-
German Shepherd wolf.
Yeah, something
That's
like
what
that.
he probably would
That's
say.
fucker.
I'm trying to be like more comedic, but
Right.
Yeah, it's a different animal.
It is, and I would say that you've seen it when we were hunting bait in Alberta.
Yeah,
When a black bear comes in, you're willing to stand your ground.
you know, we were on our way. We saw a grizzly.
Yeah.
In Alberta when we were on our way to where we were hunting.
Yeah.
Looking eye to eye with a grizzly is wild.
It's a wild thing, and when a grizzly bear comes through a stand of timber or mountainside in this case, things go quiet.
And we didn't even, when I was in Alberta, the one I've seen in the wild was not that big, but the one you saw was big.
This is one of the biggest bears I've ever seen. I'm talking big hind end, just wobble.
Give me a roundabout.
I have no idea. I would guess it at the 6.5 to 7 feet.
Oh,
I don't know how to guess how much it weighed. Let's just
300,
say
350,
no, fucking way more than that.
450,
700, 600 pounds. We later found
700 pounds.
the track on the road where we walk in every morning to the drainage. This little 2-track dirt road where we walk in. We found this thing's track. So it is sauntering up this drainage. And there's a moment where my mind's not in the right spot. It's in the place of, is this a grizzly bear or a black bear? And now that I look back on that moment, that bear was about 2 seconds away from ripping my face off.
Oh my God.
I'm cow calling. To that bear, I'm a cow elk. And to me, I wasn't scared. I wasn't pulling for my pistol. I was watching it as a hunter might watch any game species
Thinking an elk's gonna come over the ridge.
Yeah.
And a grizzly
bear.
bear. How many pounds?
Maybe 700-800 pounds. I don't know. I hope I'm not wrong
Let's
about
be
that.
nice.
It's a big one.
Let's be nice and say 600. Imagine a 600-pound super predator
One swat.
running full clip towards you.
I've interviewed many people that have had their face ripped off, their testicles ripped off. I know the pure carnage that a grizzly bear like that can do, and I also know in my pack is a tourniquet and all the medical supplies a man might carry. But I'm pretty close to town. My dad's there. We have our cell phone service. We're not in the backcountry. I know at this point, when I determine it to be a grizzly bear, it's already walking up the drainage away from me. I determined it's a grizzly bear. I know then that if it turns back to us, we got a problem. But if it keeps going up the drainage, I know where it's headed. It's headed to that elk carcass that was there. And so luckily for us, it goes up the drainage. It heads over towards the elk carcass and ducks into the timber. And it's not the end of it, but that's the end of that encounter.
And you're
particularly.
carrying a pistol?
I have a pistol.
What caliber?
44 Magnum. A Taurus 44 Magnum Ultralight. And I have a chest holster. That's from a guy named Razco. A guy in Bozeman makes this chest holster that attaches to the bottom
So
of the
is this a
chest.
revolver?
This revolver. And I have bear spray on the hip belt of my.
So you can get off
extra pack.
six shots?
I can
or
get off
5
6 shots.
6 shots.
And I know again, having been in the industry and talked to a lot of people that have had encounters, I know kind of how this is going to go. And likely how it goes is the only way you get out of it is you get mauled and the bear loses interest, or the person that's with you saves you in some manner, right?
Yeah.
There's a pretty
But
famous...
your dad doesn't have a gun.
He doesn't. He has a bow.
And you're in front.
I'm in front.
Oh,
So I'm between these two. And again, this
is your pistol in, is it, you have to open up a snap to pull it out? Or is it
it's
in
fully,
Kydex or something?
It's fully in a molded
Right.
holster that I can pull out and present
Right.
easy. It'll be double action because I don't have it cocked.
And do you have a thought when that's happening where he might run away, but if I shoot him, he might attack me?
Yeah, I mean, as he's
There's like a calculation, right?
yeah, and again, as a hunter, I'm more interested in what is this thing doing? Why is it here? Than I am like I
Right.
should run away.
Right.
And that is, I think, both appropriate and also probably not the best thing to be doing, man. Like you should probably be.
Can you remember what you thought? Like what went through your head when you realized it wasn't an elk and it was a giant grizzly bear?
Finally. Yeah. Because you are in a country where you know. Dude, I've been out in June setting a trail camera and heard a wolf howl. I told you, I talked to the game warden. He's like, there's bears around. And so the thing that you do is you prepare for the worst, and you really, really prepare for the worst. And I did it knowing that there's folks that I've talked to, like I said, that have had really life-changing experiences. One of them in Kodiak, a brown bear ripped off his testicles. One of them in Alaska, a brown bear, or I think grizzly bear, ripped off his face. And so I know these stories. I know them all too fucking well.
There's a video of that one guy.
Yeah.
Pretty recently.
Glenn Bond.
Yeah. How many, 4 or 5 years ago, right?
It would have been back in, roughly
Whatever,
that.
give or take a few years.
Yeah.
That one is available online. It's horrendous.
Kind of, yeah. They keep pulling it offline.
They put his
unfortunately.
face back together again. Pretty good.
I have the full. I talked to that guy. I know that guy very well, and I have the full story of that. You can listen to it on the Hunting Collective. There's a podcast with Brett Bond.
I listened to it.
It's amazing. It's a whole nother show probably, but
it's like that's one of those conversations where like a vegan or an animal rights activist would be like, good.
some people might say that.
Some people might say that. Like,
don't-
I'm glad that fucking
And
bear
people
got
said that
guy.
about Brett Bond and his father Glenn.
Yeah,
who
they
was
did.
attacked. There was a lot of people saying like, because they were hunting bears at the time, and they were hunting bears in their den on the Denali Highway in Alaska.
Yeah.
And so people were like, good, you hunt them in their den, that's what happens. And again,
Exactly, yeah.
and that's where I come back to the emotion of finally, because so much of my hunting life in Montana has been anticipation of those encounters.
And that was the first ever?
With a bear, with a grizzly bear, yeah.
Wow.
Well, not the first ever in my life. First ever in Montana. I was once on a caribou hunt up in Northwest Territories. They helicopter you out into the middle of nowhere, and then you have I think a 12-hour delay before you can hunt once you've been helicoptered into the wilderness. I think it's 12 or 24 hours, but you have a delay before you can hunt. So you literally have to sit there and wait. And we were there at a time in August when there was no darkness. It was literally light pretty much the entire 24-hour day. And so we sat on a ridgeline, and we were glassing for caribou in the period where we couldn't hunt. And here comes this sow grizzly bear down this drainage. Every bush that she went by, whack! Every piece of moss, she just whack! Just crushed. She was upset. She's having a bad day. Whether her cub got taken or she was just in a predatory mood, it was. I remember glassing her with a spotting scope, going like, "Hope she doesn't come over here." And we were sitting on kind of a.
Is that normal behavior when like a cub gets eaten by a boar?
I don't know if that's normal behavior.
'Cause
I
that
imagine
does-
it to be.
For folks who don't know, that happens a lot, and
Yeah.
the females try to fight the boar off.
I imagine it to be. I imagine them to be aggressive in the times that they need to be. But I don't know enough to know if that's like every time a cub gets eaten, she goes out and whacks the shit out of the next thing she sees. I don't know that. But in this case, this sow was alone. She was not she didn't look all that mature, but she was going down this drain. It's just everything she saw, she was hitting. And I thought, well, if she comes by me,
You're fucked.
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And we were kind of on what we would call a glass and tit, which is kind of a raised up ridge and glass. And she got at some point below us where we couldn't see her.
What a terrifying idea of a mad grizzly, like a road raging grizzly.
You're like, dude, oh. And then
That's
you think
what that
like,
is. It's like someone just fucking fuck you.
And where the grizzlies
Learn to
live,
drive.
right? The grizzlies don't live by the urgent care.
Right.
Right? They live in places where if they whack you,
You're fucked.
you're fucked unless your friend knows
If
how
they
to
break both your legs,
Yeah.
you have to crawl to safety.
Right,
if
so
you can.
So in the examples of Brett Bond, who we were just talking about, he saved his father. His father got his face ripped off by a grizzly bear. He comes running down the hill with his .454 Casull, shoots this bear, bang, 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 kills it. It actually, I was reading some of his accounts of the hunt. He measured 5.5 feet from his bootstrap to where the bear died when he was defending his father's life. His father had been attacked.
Oh my God. How much did the bear weigh?
The bear is now in Glenn Bond, who's 70. He's probably in his 80s now. Is in his living room. He got it mounted, full standing mount, and it's in his living room. I bet that bear weighed 800 plus pounds easy. And again, apologies for getting that wrong if that's the case. But
We got to wrap this up. But before we wrap this up,
yeah,
how does that bear story end? Is that it?
yeah, the bear leaves and goes to eat that elk carcass.
How close were you at the closest time?
80 yards toward death.
How many seconds would it take for a bear to sprint at you from 80 yards?
2.
Do you think you'd have time to pull the gun?
Well, we did a whole thing with Clay Newcomb, if you look on the old Meat Eater YouTube, where we tried to figure out how quickly you could draw your bear spray or your pistol.
Not so quick.
Not so quickly.
Not so quick.
I probably would have gotten mauled. But again, that's the reality of the world in which we live, Joseph Rogan.
That's a nice thing to say if you don't get mauled. If you do get mauled, you should say, I should take up roller skating.
Yeah, if you don't get mauled, you're like, ah!
If you don't get mauled, like, I am going roller skating from here on out.
I'm going to take up crochet.
Yeah. Like if you got mauled and you had the opportunity to not get mauled, you're like, yeah, I'm going to do something else.
I'm going to keep my face.
The truth about wolves isn't what documentaries told you. Something else was happening in the ecosystem.
Thank you for understanding that. I forgot about Cecil. But like when we were first monitoring the wolves in Glacier, there was just a handful, and we would catch them. And we would give them names because it's easier. Like Phyllis was Wolf 8550 and Mojave was Wolf 8963. They had both names and numbers. And so when we did our scientific papers and reports, we used a number because we were told by the officials that we don't want you to name the animals because what happens when Phyllis kills a cow, if that happens?
Right.
Then you can't manage Phyllis. So we went along with it, but we used the names and we did the scientific stuff with numbers. But then when you go into the park, people would want to know what's going on. And you talk about these different wolf numbers, 8654, and they say, well, who is that? Oh, that's Aspen. Oh, yeah. And they would know by the name. So whatever works.
Well, then all of a sudden they become like a pet. Or
More
even
so.
more like a majestic wild pet. Like it's a different thing. It's a pet that's this iconic North American, apex predator.
Yes. And I know the wolves in Yellowstone, they don't have names, they have numbers, but they're so identifiable by 907 or whatever that it becomes like a name,
Right.
even though it's still a number.
But if you shoot 907, it's not as rude as if you shoot Jake.
Right.
Jake the wolf.
Right.
It's like, oh.
Jericho, yeah.
Yeah, or Michael.
Michael.
You name a wolf a human name,
right,
and all of a sudden you
right.
shouldn't shoot it anymore.
I know.
Which is just a weird anthropomorphization
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's been interesting to me because for my career, I've done everything. My first year, my first job, I worked up in northern Minnesota in a little tiny 300-person farming community, and I was hired, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, to go in and help prevent livestock depredation, and when wolves killed cattle or sheep, to go in and remove, which meant trap and haul them away when they were euthanized. And when there weren't depredations, to go out and research trap and put collars on the other wolves. And it was, this was big stuff for a girl from Minneapolis, starry-eyed and pretty naive, to go up and save the folks of North Home from the wolves,
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It was such an important summer for me to learn professionally and personally. And I wrote about that. But I learned a lot, and it was interesting work, but I realized yeah, wolves can cause conflicts for people. And it was a new concept for me.
So when they captured the wolves and they removed them, why did they euthanize them? Why didn't they just relocate them?
Well, they would be me because I was the one catching and
you.
trapping them. Me.
Well, obviously someone was telling you what to do, though, right?
Right. So I had to bring them to the main office in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, where they were euthanized. So prior to that, in 1978, you couldn't euthanize wolves. They changed the status from endangered to threatened. And so when they were threatened, then under Endangered Species Act, you could actually euthanize them. And they didn't translocate them. This is a really good question because they found over the years with studies in Minnesota and eventually in Montana too, that when you translocate or move a wolf who's causing a problem, that wolf very, very rarely survives to reproduce because it gets killed by other wolves. It comes back to depredate again. It moves onto another farmer ranch and does it again. They don't generally survive, and so it was determined that it makes officials feel good to move them, and it's a good facade for the public to believe in, but sometimes it results in a pretty prolonged and inhumane existence for a few months or a year till they die anyway. So, yeah, it's
Is it
tough.
because they're habitualized to start preying on cattle?
It's tough once they learn to take cattle or sheep. It's tough to break that pattern. Let's put it that way.
Because it's so easy?
Well, yeah. I mean, if it was me out there walking around and I had a choice between a deer that's going to kick me
Right.
in the teeth or taking the cow, I'd pick the slow, dumb groceries every time. It's just
Yeah.
me.
Of course.
Of course.
And if they know the groceries are all penned up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult challenge, and wolves are continuing to expand everywhere in the West, the Midwest, Europe. And so there's more and more challenges, and a lot of the early excitement about wolves has changed into a bitter battle.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, complex battle because there's a lot of hunters that do not like the reintroduction of wolves.
Yes.
Because and they'll say that the elk populations are down, and they're down dramatically in Montana because of the reintroduction. Which was in 1996? When did they?
95, 96, and then 96, 97. Those winters.
So, but the reality is, it's not natural to not have those predators there, and you're going to get an overpopulation of elk, and that's going to lead to starvation and disease.
Yes. And so kind of the die was cast when those wolves were removed, and basically by the 1930s, there really weren't viable populations in the West anymore. There were wolves here or there in a pack here or there, but there weren't thousands. And they went inside the national parks. They have a picture in many books of rangers with cute little wolf pups that are like 7, 8 weeks old, and they took the pictures. This was in 1926, and then they killed them all. So they even removed all the predators within national parks. So people, historic memory, we have really short memories. Mm-hmm. Historic memory of, say, for example, the northern herd range of elk out of Gardner. It was about 20,000 before the wolves were introduced. Way over carrying capacity. Elk were starving. The browse lines as high up as they could reach. They ate everything they could eat. They were paying people were being paid to come in and kill deer and elk. And then they started the late hunting seasons out of Gardner, which I went in because my boyfriend had a tag. And they just have a shooting line in February and kill all these elk because they aren't going to make it anyway. And so you shoot a starving cow in February.
Wow.
Because there wasn't predators. So
Right.
then when the wolves came back, two things happened. Number one, it was a new predator. But number two, in the winter of 96, 97, we had some of the deepest snows ever recorded in the mountains, ever. And so many of the herd died from snowfall. And I have hunters tell me, the population of elk went from 20,000 to 10,000 in 2 years. Damn those wolves. And it's like, do you think 35 wolves killed 10,000 elk? Come on, let's just do the math a minute.
Yeah, that is the problem with these people that don't have a nuanced perspective on what's happening, because they have a vested interest in it being a problem that the wolves are keeping them from being able to be successful on an elk hunt.
Right. And I'm a hunter. I get it.
Yeah. But the die-offs are huge. Like the place that I was just telling you about before the podcast that I was in Utah,
Yeah.
they lost 80% of their mule deer population a year ago.
From what?
Snow.
Yeah, and so
Real bad winter.
Yeah.
Bad, and winter die-offs are a big thing. It's a big thing.
I would say, to the best of my knowledge as a biologist, that winter die-off is the limiting factor for ungulate herds. It's not lions and bears and wolves and humans and cars. Every so often, every 20 years or whatever, you get a massive winter die-off. And it takes quite a while for those populations to build back up.
Yeah.
Predators can keep that at a lower rate. They cannot affect it. You know, I have to think back to the people say about wolves killing all the deer now. And I think if you look to statistics, Montana and Wyoming, which both have had a lot of wolves for a couple decades, they're giving away more elk permits. I just was reading they proposed unlimited elk permits in Wyoming, and Montana's got basically in most of its management units more elk than ever. And I just say there's more going on than wolves. And to point your finger at wolves all the time, you need to look at habitat. You need to look at access issues. You know, there's a lot of places where hunters want to go shoot these elk,
Right.
but they're on large private ranches and you can't get on them.
Including landlocked public land, where
Yes.
there is public land where you're allowed to hunt there, but you can't get there.
Right.
You'd have to fly in a helicopter. In a lot of places, that's illegal.
Right.
And
Right.
so there's all this talk of, for people that don't know, there's one of the things that happens is a thing called corner crossing.
Yeah.
So there might be a piece of public land that you're allowed to hike into, and then there's a small area. It could be a very small area, just a few yards even, of private land that you are going to have to cross in order to get into the next piece of public land. But people block access to that because these people that have these ranches, and most of them probably don't even live there, and a bunch of wealthy people, they're terrified that someone's going to go through that and then go into their private land. They don't want to give people the access at all to their private land, so they stop these corner crossings, and it's a giant disaster because then you have these areas that are public land that should be available to all of us, and no one can get in there.
Right. I mean, if the viewers can think of imagining a checkerboard and you're trying to get from one black square to the next black square, but you have to step over a tiny piece of white square
Right.
to get there, right?
Yeah.
It's being battled in court right now. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
it
If
is.
I owned the land, I would carve out a big pathway and give it to the public.
Yeah.
Why? If you have 50,000 acres out there, whatever the hell you have, why is it so hard to take a few acres and just make a path?
But you're not most landowners. I
But
mean,
it seems so simple.
I know.
It's like the simplest of, you just make some sort of an easement.
Well, that would be good, and some ranchers do, but many people been in this business 4 or 5 generations on their family ranch, and they've had bad experiences with hunters that come in and cut their fences, shoot their cows, leave their gates open, and they just say, "I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
closed," and they get really angry. I just hunted on a guy's ranch about a week ago up in central Montana. And he owns 60 sections. That's 60 square miles of land, which may not be a big place in Texas, but for most of the rest of the world,
That's huge.
it's huge. And he gave us permission, but he had to tell us all the challenges he's had and why he had a big sign, "Don't even ask," basically. But
Right.
but I know that I know he was going to let us because some other friends of mine had hunted there. So he had all these heartburns over things that had happened to him. Hunters gave him a really bad taste in their mouth, and I as a single individual person can't do a lot about it. And I'd like to see hunting organizations, many really good ones, help promote better hunter behavior and better hunter landowner relationships. You would be very generous to do that, but most people will not give an easement.
Well, I would understand that if you've been burned a few times,
Yeah.
that people have poached on your land,
Right.
and there's this attitude that people who don't have anything and they see someone who has so much, and
Yes.
they're like, "Screw this guy! I'm
Yeah.
just going to go on his property. Look, the elk are right there over the ridge, 400 yards away.
Yep.
Let's just go over there, shoot those elk. He won't even know.
Yeah.
We'll pack it out.
That happens.
Yeah, and then they get caught, and
Right.
then this guy's like, God damn it, they're poaching on my land, and then he hates hunters. Hunters are like everybody else.
Yep.
There's people that are amazing plumbers, and they're real honest, and they work hard, and they're
Yeah.
sweethearts, and you're happy to hire them
Right.
and call them. And there's people that are just liars, and they're
Yeah.
crooks.
It's
and
just like any other
like
group of
anything
people.
else.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And I know in my business with the wolves, I've always tried to be very transparent I'm very honest. And if somebody asks me a question, I'll give them the best information I have. If I don't know an answer, I'll say, I don't know, but you could call so-and-so who's maybe had the experience with that.
Right.
I got nothing to hide by being dishonest or trying to sell somebody. It's like hunting impacts of wolves on hunting. You look at populations and they go like this all the time. And sometimes wolves cause it, sometimes not. Sometimes it's winter. Sometimes it's accumulation of lions and bears and wolves. But it's like the stock market. People want to see it do this.
Well, it's like the climate.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to admit to that either. They hate looking at long-term data.
I know. And
When people want to talk about the sky is falling, well, it's actually not. Like, you look at it over a long period of time, and you see this trend has always existed. And in fact, this is one of the cooler times in history.
we're facing interesting times. It's
Bizarrely ideological.
I think the hardest thing is so much social media. Everything goes on instantly, and whether it's true or not.
Everything goes on instantly, and everything is ideologically connected. There's people that just don't want any animals ever killed ever, and there's people that want no predators and the easiest hunts possible, and they don't have a nuanced perspective of the ecosystem, of what biology is, and what these animals, there's a whole world that they live in, and this world is like interdependent. There's so many things going on. And so people, I remember there was a documentary that came out, how wolves changed rivers in Yellowstone. And they made this incredibly rosy picture of wolves coming in, and it brought in beavers, and they changed the rivers and the lakes, and everything was better. And it's like, no, not really. No, there's a lot going on all the time, and to single out this one aspect of this ecosystem and say this is the cause of this. Now, there's a lot of different causes. There's a lot going on.
Yes, and that film or the video ran viral big time. But there's no one species that's going to make or break the world except maybe people. But in terms of the impacts, no. And it's been shown since that video came out, the movie, that might be true in a short time period in small places, but it's not the global picture for Yellowstone Park. Wolves have not saved the planet. They just haven't. It's just not that simple.
For a moment, he thought a great white shark was circling beneath him in open ocean darkness.
What was going on in San Diego when that guy got bit in half by a shark a couple years back? They were training for something.
Yeah, it's funny you remember that. That was May of 2008. I remember that like it was yesterday. So at the time I lived in San Francisco. And this is actually just before I swam the Maui thing. Now that I think about it, that was 10 years ago. I swam the Maui thing in June of 08. So I'm doing all my training in a swimming pool up in San Francisco because I don't want to acclimate to very cold water. I actually want to be in warm water. But I needed one long ocean swim of like 14 or 15 miles as my last training swim. So I came down to San Diego to do it. And just by bad luck, I came down a few days after that guy was killed. Now, this was a guy, I didn't know him, but he was a triathlete training with a triathlon group that they would go out and swim every morning. And I know the beach exactly where it happened, in Solana Beach. And unfortunately, like most people who get attacked by great whites, they always attack the same way, which is below and behind, stealth bite, up and then they retreat. So they're trying to basically injure the prey so their prey exsanguinates, and then they take off, and then they wait till you bleed out. So they never saw the shark, but you could tell from the bite marks it was. I actually had a friend who was on the beach and saw him when he came out, and he was basically dead when he got to shore. He had bled to death. The problem is, so in this case, the shark had bit him and cut through his femoral arteries and veins. And the salt water prevents you from having any hemostasis, so it exacerbates the blood loss. So that's generally how folks perish when they're bit by great whites.
How did they get him out of the water?
A bunch of other swimmers came to his rescue, and luckily that commotion prevents the sharks from wanting to come back. So 3 days later, I go out and I'm swimming at that beach because I swam from my training swim was La Jolla up to Solana Beach and back. And I got to tell you, 3 days after a guy dies where you're swimming, it was about one of the most mentally challenging training swims to be like, because you can't see, like the water at that part of the beach is so murky, you know, and you're only a couple hundred yards offshore that like you can barely see your hands when you're swimming. And so you're just thinking, is this the day?
Ooh, dude. Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
Gee, I can't see why.
Yeah, there's just something about sharks, too. I mean, they're, to me, one of the most terrifying things. But first of all, we're so inept in the water. I mean, even a person like you who's a great swimmer.
Yeah, we're a joke.
Yeah, what we are in comparison to what they are, it's just you're throwing yourself into the world of a super predator. And to know that one just jacked a person just a few days before and you're out there swimming around.
Yeah, although I will say this, you know, when it's all said and done, all of the close encounters I've had, probably the scariest moment I've ever had in the water was doing a swim from Santa Rosa to Santa Barbara. So Santa Rosa Island, which is the second furthest north Channel Island. You got San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, and Anacapa represent the top 4 Channel Islands. So we did this November swim. It was a nighttime thing again, swimming from Santa Rosa Island to Santa Barbara. And at about 5 in the morning, maybe 6 in the morning, you're just starting to get enough light where you can see, and you're out there, so you really have amazing visibility. And I look down probably 40 feet, and I see this enormous thing swimming like this, which is how sharks swim, and I see the dorsal fin in the position that freaks me out, and the tail's this way. All of that is shark.
Right.
And I like lift up out of the water, kind of hyperventilate for a second, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, you got to make a judgment call here. If that's really a great white, you probably ought to get out of the water. But the moment you're out of the water, that's it. The swim is over. Like, you just spent like months doing this, like it's done. So then I convinced myself, and I think I'm right. I think it was a dolphin on its side, because a dolphin on its side its tail fin would be the same way, and it could swim that way. So in the end, I just kept swimming. But I mean, that scared the shit out of me.
Well, they have seen quite a few of them off the coast of Malibu. There's
there's tons. There's no question. They are way more plentiful than we realize. And all you got to do is talk to the fishermen. Like, the fishermen will tell you. They're like off Coronado. I mean, it's like there's nonstop great whites.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why are you freaking me out, Peter?
The good news is, they see us all the time, and most of the time they realize we're not what they want.
Yeah, they want seals,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Whenever they attack us, they're making a mistake.
Now, is there a suit you can wear, like a Kevlar suit that protects you from getting bitten in half?
No, but this is so funny you bring this up. I became obsessed with this thing called the, what was it called? Christ. You'd put the thing on your ankle, like you had like a little Velcro thing, you'd wrap it on your ankle, and it had a tail, like this long, like 4 foot long thing, and it was charged. And it sends out an electrical impulse that disturbs the shit out of the sharks. The shark's nose is an organ that senses electricity. So when a shark, it could be pitch black, it could be soot water, and they can still scope you, from hundreds of yards away based on the electrical activity of your heart. And that organ is their nose. So this little thing, I forget what it was called, like the shark taser or some shit. It puts out a signal that like tases them, and they don't want to get within like.
Oh, there it is. Jamie's got it up here. The world's first shark deterrent band. It's called the Shark Bands. Worn on the wrist or ankle. Is this it?
I don't know. I thought it had a different name, but because the one that I was going to get and did a ton of research into had a really long tail hanging off it, and that became the problem.
Uses patented magnetic technology to repel sharks. So the tail was a problem because of the drag?
No, because it sounds silly, but it would come up and zap you in the nuts.
Oh,
so you'd
Christ.
It's like, so it became unbearable to practice swimming in this thing, because you're like, every 37 seconds you'd get zapped by the tail. And I was just like, yeah.
I like how it says reduce the risk.
Oh, yeah.
Can I get some numbers, please? I don't want to just hear reduce. By how much? By 1%
7%.
Statistically. And then it also is a leash for your surfboard, too. You can use one of those to strap it to your ankle. But Yeah, no.
It's going to come to me like in an hour. I'll remember what this silly thing was called.
Jamie will probably find it.
Yeah.
Off of Catalina, I know it's one of the best shark fishing places in the world. I have a friend of mine who told me that if you think about like wild places on Earth that are just overrun with predators and terrifying, like predator prey activity, Catalina Island is one of the top spots in the world. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm telling you, man, the shark fishing off Catalina Island is fucking insane. And then I watched a television show, just, synchronicity, a couple days later. And it was these guys shark fishing off of Catalina. I was like, what in the fuck? I could have never guessed. They're catching makos mostly.
Yeah, and it's actually my recollection, because we swam around Catalina once as well. The backside is way more aggressive than the front side.
The side that faces the Pacific
The side that
rather than faces
exactly.
Los Angeles.
That's right. Yeah, there's way
That
more
makes
crazy
sense.
stuff out
yeah,
there.
I think that's exactly where they were. Yeah, it looked pretty nuts. I mean, they were bringing in these 15-foot sharks. I mean, I was like, what in the fuck? These are just floating around out there.
JRE number 1224. Farmers say feral pigs don't just hunt animals, sometimes they hunt everything.
Well, pigs are the weirdest one because pigs, like my friend Whitney Cummings, she adopted a pig that, where'd she get that pig? I think it was from the fire, right? Yeah. And she actually wound up driving it to Texas. She drove in her car 24 hours. She's a fucking maniac when it comes to animals. I think her and her fiance drove to Texas with this fucking pig to drop it off at this pig shelter. And damn, dude, when she's with that pig, that thing is like a dog.
No, good on her. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Might as well be my dog. I mean,
Yeah.
just like hanging out.
Oh,
and
they're an
super
intelligent
sweet.
animal. Yeah.
But when they get loose and they're out in the wild, boy, they fucking breed 3-4
Oh, yeah.
times a year. And They'll
Yeah.
have big piles of piglets, and those piglets will they eat everything in sight. They're omnivorous.
Absolutely
They're
devastating
destructing
to the ecosystem.
for everything. They're
Yeah, that's
devastating
it.
to plants and ground nesting birds, animals, everything. They
Yeah,
eat everything in front of them.
Yeah.
They're pigs.
Yeah. And I don't hate them.
No.
Like, I don't hate them. I
No.
love pigs. I think they're an unreal
Yeah.
animal. But the bigger picture is they need to be controlled. They can't go out there and just ruin our ecosystem like that.
Well, you're seeing it in Texas. Texas is probably, in the United States, is the biggest example of what happens or the best example of what happens when these feral hogs are just completely out of control. They just devastate these agricultural farms.
Yeah.
They have these farms, and they're just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
I've
it's all the
seen some of
wildlife, other wildlife as well, because they eat frogs and they'll eat lizards and they'll
yeah.
anything that's on the ground that's edible, they'll eat it.
Yeah.
I wrote an article years ago. It was called Killer at the Pass. It was a place in Australia, and the property owners, like the ranchers, called me up and they said, you need to come out and shoot some of the foxes. Like, they're devastating our lambs. And I ended up going out there, and when I was driving in with the forward drive at night with the high beams on, I seen this massive big black and white boar walking between the flock of sheep with a lamb in its mouth. There was this pig, and it had got a taste for meat, and it happens all the time. Like, so a big boar, especially a mature animal, will get a taste for meat in harsher conditions, and they'll just stick to meat after that. And I ended up catching up with this pig the next morning and shot it with the bow. It actually attacked me. The first shot wasn't perfect, and it charged me, and I ended up like stabbing it to death. I was on a slope like this on the mountain,
Jesus.
and it was really a battle. And he ended up hooking the bow out of my hand, because when he charged me, I put an arrow on and shot, and just went down one side and like hit one lung, and it just infuriated this boar, and he was on me. And when I was fending him off with the bow, his tusk went into the bottom limb of the bow or the cam or something like that, and ripped the bow out of my hand. And I end up getting my knife off me, and I end up like stabbing this pig while it was like trying to run me over.
Holy shit. How big was it?
It was a big boar. It was like big meat-eating boar like this. And
Like how many pounds?
oh, fucking big. That's how many pounds?
300?
Probably not 300. Our
200?
mountain boars just get real solid. Yeah, probably 200 or something like that. And anyway, I ended up stabbing this thing to death. And when I end up cutting it open, its whole insides, like its whole stomach, was like lamb's hocks, like the feet, the bottom of the feet where they can't swallow, and skulls, and just like little bits of wool and stuff like that.
Wow.
It'd just been going around and just picking these lambs off and killing them.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a really known occurrence in Australia now that if things get harsh, because they're just absolutely ruthless. They'll just walk right between the sheep and just fucking grab a lamb, walk off of it, chew it up and eat it. But anyway, first thing in that morning that I found was a pig spew, and it was like this fucking spew like this, and it was the same, it was lamb's hocks, and it was
What's a
like
spew?
bits of vomit.
Oh.
You don't say spew in America?
Yeah, you do, but I thought maybe
Okay.
it meant something else to you.
Yeah, fucking spewing, mate.
Yeah, spew.
Yeah. Spew.
I spewed out.
Yeah, spewed out.
Yeah.
That's what happened at Disney yesterday. Fucking Walt Disney spewed all over me.
So it just threw up bones and
Just
shit?
threw up bones and stuff that it couldn't digest. But yeah, lamb killer at the park.
It's a destructive animal, and they're so ruthlessly efficient in terms of like how much food they can
Yeah.
eat.
So a deer will walk along and it will pick, it will just pick the tops off grass, and the grass regrows. A pig will go through and eat that grass, and it will turn it over and eat the roots and everything as well. Causes a lot of erosion, and then there's no regrowth because there's no roots in the ground.
Because they're greedy pigs.
They're greedy pigs. There you go. But
You know they're the number one cause of death on farms?
really,
Yeah, apparently with domestic animals, people falling into pig pens,
and just into them.
they just
Yeah.
they just devour. And when you're dealing with these giant domestic pigs, they get fucking huge.
Massive, yeah.
Yeah, hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, in like Western New South Wales, when times get tough, which is like seems to be fucking all the time now, but they'll get so desperate. Like you'll shoot a pig, you're going for the farmer, and you're just shooting them. You're not even really taking any meat off them because they're like they're eating meat themselves, and they're like skin and bones and disgusting. It's more of like a cull mission, and you'll come back in the afternoon, and that pig will be completely skin and bones because the other pigs just get in there and you'll hear them. You'll just hear them just scream, and it's the most god-awful sound there is.
They cannibalize.
They cannibalize, yeah.
I was in Tejon Ranch, and we were walking by this really high grass. The grass was like 5 foot high, and we were only like maybe 10 yards away from these pigs fighting. And I said to Ranella, I said, "Now, come on, man. If you didn't know that those were pigs, if I told you there was demons in that grass, you would
Oh, fuck
completely
yeah.
believe it."
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, yeah, it's going ballistic. Were you
it sounded
hunting
like
them?
something. Yeah, it sounded
Oh,
like
that's the
something
best
from Lord
sound
of the
when you're
Rings.
hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. But it sounded like Lord of the Rings. It sounded like some horrific scene in
An
a
orc.
monster movie. Yeah, it sounded like an orc.
Yeah.
It really did. I mean, it's just, how is that the same animal as those cute little things that Whitney Cummings is hanging around
Yeah,
with?
totally.
Because the one that she had was like all fluffy and sitting in her bed,
Yeah,
and cute,
loving it.
She taught it how to go outside to go
Was
to
it
the
a
bathroom.
pygmy pig?
No, it was a pig. That was the other thing she told me. Apparently, those little pigs are not real. All they are is just underfed.
Yeah, right. That's pretty fucking
That's
wrong.
fucked up. Like
Yeah.
when those people have those little tiny pigs, she's like, that's not real.
Yeah.
They're just, it's a baby pig. It's a tiny little pig. It's just going to stay tiny. No, if you don't feed it, it'll stay tiny.